Today is a review on the module of programming. So today we look at part of the design process called programming. Programming is essentially the earliest stages of the design process where designers begin to research and gather information necessary for the project. Programming can be broken down into 4 distinct stages. First, typically you formulate a problem statement. A problem statement comes from the interviewing process and research gaining process. In our exercise for this semester, we were given the client and we were given the client requirements. If you have additional questions, which will be part of your assignment, you will be asking me and I will be standing in as your client. A problem statement puts together exactly what it sounds like, putting together all the information as gathered by the client, and from there you can do additional research, which you have done already. For this project, part of your problem statement was to base the aesthetic, what the project looks like, based on a historical style. So unless you're like some people who might just have all the information in their head about historical styles, typically you need to research that further. So I will share with you, even as a design historian who taught at the university, each time I have a new project and it's based on something, I further research it. So for example, I know a lot about the Art Deco style, but I was hired by a client to design a train station based on an Art Deco precedent. So I studied Grand Central Station and a station in New Jersey that was built during the Art Deco period. So research. You put this all together into a document. So part of your document in this lesson will be to add your historical style, answers to any questions and responses that I've given to you, to add that to the problem statement. The second document you're going to produce is an inspiration board for how the project is to look. And again, this is based on your interview, and this is based on information gathering and additional research. Finally, once you get that all aligned and you have an understanding of the direction you feel that your client wants to go in, before you start any of the second phase of the design process, you need to show the problem and go over the problem statement with your client and get approval. This is one of the reasons why you're kind of basically regurgitating all that you've heard and all of what you've said, and you've created an inspiration board that you and your client can talk about. They then give you permission to move forward. I'm always excited about this stage of the design process, because what happens is if you've done enough research and you've gotten to know your client well enough, sometimes you hear comments like this. I love you, you know me so well, how do you know me and my husband so well? Well, the fact is that most designers don't, but if you've done a good job in the programming phase, you tend to feel like the clients get exactly that you just somehow get exactly what your clients want, but in fact they've given you the information and you've just collected it and put it into both verbal, written, and a visual means for them to review and go over. In this exercise, you're introduced to the client. So I've already introduced you to the client in terms that they want their style to be based on a historical style that Michelle had experienced in her youth or in her travels, and that they want to combine and blend that style with the Arizona desert. So here is your client. The client is Tim and Michelle Bryce, and they're in their early 50s with one daughter who attends Arizona State University. While Mr. Bryce is native to Arizona, Michelle was raised in, and I would like you to fill this in, she was raised in, or she traveled the country, she traveled with her family as a child, so something that she was raised in and inspired this historical design style. So you're going to fill in that information along with reading these details and adding some additional information you got me from the interview process. So they are building a custom home in Cave Creek, Arizona. The preliminary floor plan has been drawn up by the architect, and you have been hired to design the custom portions of the space. So this is very common in new construction, that the architect would have already worked with the client and come up with a design, a footprint, or a floor plan that has been passed on to the interior designer. It's at that time that the interior designer can do something what's called red lines. Red lines are small modifications to the overall project. So maybe you go in and you loosely place furniture, or you make a suggestion like add a powder bath, or I see that you're missing a coat closet. So typically at the early stages of the process, designers can come in and give some suggestions on the architecture. So Mr. Bryce, a little more information about the client, works outside the home and also helps his wife with a thriving home-based business. So think about this. This is a client's home. So we have a home-based business, but we also have Mr. Bryce who works outside of the home. And I find in most families that although Michelle might have a nice home office where she can see clients and work a little more full-time, there's going to be a need for a space for Mr. Bryce, some type of tech center or work center. Both Tim and Michelle Bryce are active and have no physical limitations. They would like their home to age in place with them, and as such would like the design of their bathroom and walk-in closet to be ADA compliant. So when I say ADA compliant, I mean accessible, universal. That doesn't mean it has to look like a commercial ADA compliant bathroom. It needs to be universal. It needs to age in place with the client. They want their home to reflect the casual Cave Creek community and desert lifestyle. So you might want to just look up Cave Creek and what is Cave Creek all about. They are avid participants in the desert community activities of hiking, swimming, trail riding, golfing, etc. So part of your research should be at least to, if you can't visit Cave Creek, Arizona, you might just want to Google it and take a little look at some of their festivals, some of their surrounding hiking, the golf courses, etc. They are members of the local homeowners association and entertain a great deal in a casual manner with outside decks, barbecues, swimming pool, and spa. The couple also hosts family and holiday gatherings for up to 10 or more people. The current design of the great room does not feature a fireplace. The Bryce would like the designer to come up with several possible solutions to add a fireplace/media center to the great room. This will be one of your projects that you'll be doing for the custom classes, to design this fireplace, right? So you might want to study fireplace design when you get to that stage of the process, or design in emotion. That fireplace is often considered the heart of the home. The new construction. The new construction home of a 2-bedroom residence for Tim and Michelle Bryce will be built in a casual desert community of Cave Creek. The back of the home faces south. So this is very important information that we'll be getting to next week as we decide to create bubble diagrams and really dive into the design of the space. So the back of the home faces south with a desert view. So that's very important information. First of all, that is your view, so that would want to be maximized, i.e. with doors, windows, rather than a solid wall. And the fact that it's southern exposure in Arizona, we understand that that's southern exposure is probably the best exposure for the back of the house, or the most used outdoor space. The flat 10-foot zero ceiling extends throughout the home. The designer may request modifications to the ceiling, doors, and windows, but the overall footprint must stay the same. So the footprint, meaning the outline of the floor plan, should remain the same. Of course, if you're basing this on a historical style, you may want to request modifications to the design of the ceiling. That could be beams, that can be adding a coffered ceiling, a tin ceiling, a tongue and groove planked ceiling. And you also want to consider what the doors and windows looks like. Your first project will be designing the entry of this home, where the front door should be inspired by the historical style and really guide you into what the whole overall feel of the home will look like. Mrs. Davis wants to maximize the use of natural light in the home. So there's that nice light, indoor-outdoor connection that's so important for most clients. Their proposed home is their permanent year-round residence, with their daughter returning home on occasion in the additional bedroom. Both electricity and natural gas are available, and the home is on community sewer water supply. Materials and custom design considerations should reflect the historical style as well as the surrounding desert. Steps to complete this lesson. We've just reviewed the client profile. You need to fill in the region Michelle was raised in, or if she traveled, that gave rise to her historical style preference. The historical preference will be the style you selected at the beginning of the semester, and then you will select the region or where she's traveled. After reviewing the client profile, you may have several more questions you would like to ask the client. This usually happens during the initial and follow-up client interview process. Since we are not going out and actually working with an actual client, I'm asking you to write down a minimum of 5 questions you may want to ask the client. I will answer those questions for you, and you will submit those, and I will respond. In step 3, I have an example of a questionnaire document. This was created by me after I read the client profile, and I just came up with some questions that were just popping in my head. So please open this up. Let's see, I hope you can get this open. You can enable editing, so you can cut and paste these, or you can type them up yourself. But here's just some examples that I have created, and this is to help you, because in a year or two you will be the designer out there having to do follow-up questions. So over time, I mean, look at quickly how many 70 questions I was easily to come up with. And I broke them down into different categories. So for example, entertaining and monthly HOA events. What activities do you do at your HOA events? Are those meetings? Do they gather in your home with tables and chairs? What are some activities required when entertaining family and friends? So we all entertain differently with family and friends. So for example, my parents have a bar, a built-in bar, walk-in bar actually, built in right off of their great room. So my parents are of a generation who serve cocktails when they entertain, and so as part of their design, they wanted to have a bar area. On the other hand, my husband and myself, we don't drink for health reasons, so we really don't need a bar. But that would be a question that, maybe even though we don't, maybe we entertain enough people that we might want to have a bar area or a coffee station or an area that can have a lay out a buffet. So those are kind of questions you might want to ask your client. Here's questions about personal taste, like can they provide some photos? How do they feel about pattern, bold colors, textures, etc.? Just some questions about the outdoor area, the entry, the master suite, their kitchen. Again, I could have kept on going, but these are good to keep with you as you grow and as an interior designer. Just some of the questions that you need to know to do your job well, so that when you get to the final design presentation, you get that, wow, you know me so well. Here you're going to submit your questions under Activity 3.1, and I will provide your answers. The answers will eventually be included in your project statement. For those of you who have already turned those in, those are due tomorrow, Monday at midnight. I'll try to get those answers in to you as soon as possible, so if you can add that into your project statement. Next, you're going to move to the next section, how to create an inspiration board and project statement.